I've never been big on dating apps, but after my friends kept pushing me, I finally downloaded one last winter. Within a few days, I matched with a girl named Sarah. Her profile showed her as a cheerful, outdoorsy person who lived just 3 miles away. We chatted for a week, and she seemed totally normal. She was funny, smart, and we shared a lot of the same interests. Eventually, she suggested we meet up, but instead of suggesting a public place, she invited me over to her place for dinner. She sent me an address in a quiet, upscale neighborhood. She said she was house-sitting for her aunt and uncle who were out of town, so we'd have the place to ourselves. I was a bit hesitant at first, but she seemed so genuine that I agreed. I dressed up, got in my car, and drove over on a rainy Friday evening around 7 p.m. The house was a large, 2-story suburban home with a manicured lawn. The lights were on inside, but the driveway was empty. I walked up to the porch and knocked. A middle-aged man opened the door. He looked tired, holding a mug of coffee. He didn't look like a Sarah, and he certainly didn't look like he was expecting a date. "Can I help you?" he asked, looking confused. "Hi, I'm here to see Sarah," I said, feeling a sudden wave of embarrassment. "She told me she was house-sitting here." The man's brow furrowed. "Sarah? There's no Sarah here. I live here with my wife. We just got back from a trip this afternoon. We don't have any nieces named Sarah." I felt my face turn hot. "Oh, I'm so sorry. I must have the wrong address." I pulled out my phone to show him the address in the chat, but when I opened the app, my jaw dropped. Sarah's profile was gone. The entire conversation had been deleted, and the contact was blocked. I apologized profusely to the homeowner and walked back to my car, feeling stupid and angry. I assumed I had just been catfished or pranked. I sat in my car for a few minutes, letting the engine warm up, looking back at the house. That was when I noticed something. The house had a small triangular window near the roof line, an attic window. The light inside the attic was off, but as I watched, the blinds moved. A dark silhouette of a person stood there, looking down at my car, before quickly backing away into the shadows. A cold sweat broke out over my neck. I drove away immediately. But the story doesn't end there. 2 days later, I received a message on my Instagram. It was from a burner account with 0 followers. The message was just a photo. It was a photo of me taken from a high angle, sitting in my car in that driveway, looking at my phone. Underneath the photo was a text. "You should have come inside." I was waiting in the guest room. I immediately went to the authorities. They contacted the homeowner of that house. A search of the property revealed that the attic door, located inside a closet in the guest room, had been unlocked. In the crawl space of the attic, they found a sleeping bag, food wrappers, a laptop, and a wall covered in printed photos of me and several other local residents. A squatter had been living in that family's attic for weeks while they were away, using their Wi-Fi to create fake dating profiles to lure people to the house. The authorities never caught him. He had slipped out of the back door before they arrived. I deleted all my dating apps that night, and every time I look up at a house now, I find myself staring at the attic windows, wondering who might be looking back down. It happened in the autumn of 2021, when I was living in Savannah, Georgia. I matched with a guy named Julian. He was incredibly handsome in a classic old-school way. His photos looked like they were taken with a high-end camera, and his messages were polite, almost poetic. We agreed to meet at a place called the Old Tavern, a historic restaurant built in the late 19th century. It was famous for its dim candlelit atmosphere and dark mahogany wood. I arrived at 8 p.m. The tavern was quiet, with only a few patrons scattered around. Julian was already there, sitting at a corner table. He looked exactly like his photos. He wore a dark, tailored suit that looked slightly vintage, and his eyes were a piercing pale blue. "You look beautiful," he said, rising to pull out my chair. His hand briefly brushed mine. His skin was freezing. It felt like ice. We sat down and started talking. Julian was a fascinating conversationalist, but he had some strange quirks. He didn't order any food or drink, claiming he had eaten a large late lunch, and whenever the waiter came by to check on us, Julian would look down, and the waiter seemed to completely ignore him, only speaking to me. As the night went on, the temperature at our table seemed to drop. The flame of the candle between us flickered wildly, even though there was no draft. Julian stared at me with an intensity that made me feel both thrilled and deeply unsettled. Around 9:30 p.m., I excused myself to use the restroom. When I washed my hands and looked in the mirror, I realized my fingers were blue from the cold. When I returned to the dining room, the corner table was empty. Julian was gone. I looked around the tavern, but he was nowhere to be seen. The candle on our table had burned down to a puddle of wax. The waiter came over with the bill. "Did my date leave a note?" I asked. The waiter looked at me with a mixture of confusion and pity. "Your date, ma'am? You've been sitting alone at this table for the last hour and a half. I only brought one menu because I thought you were waiting for someone who never showed." My heart skipped a beat. "What?" "No, the man in the dark suit. He was sitting right across from me. We were talking the whole time." The waiter's face went pale. He didn't say anything. He just pointed toward the wall near the entrance of the tavern, where a collection of historical photographs hung. I walked over to the wall, my legs shaking. Among the old, black and white photos of the tavern's founders, there was a picture from a New Year's Eve party in 1952. Standing in the center of the crowd, raising a glass to the camera, was Julian. He wore the exact same dark suit. He had the exact same piercing blue eyes. I went home and checked the dating app. The profile was gone. The match had vanished. I still have nightmares about that night. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night feeling a freezing cold draft in my bedroom, and I wonder if Julian decided he didn't want our date to end. This is the story of the night I almost died, and it's the reason I will never trust anyone I meet online again. I matched with a guy named Daniel on a popular dating app. He was a student at a university about an hour away. We hit it off immediately and decided to meet for coffee at a 24-hour diner midway between our towns. The date was set for 11 p.m. on a Thursday. I arrived at the diner 10 minutes early. It was a typical retro diner with neon lights and red booths. I grabbed a booth near the window, ordered a coffee, and waited. At 11:02 p.m., my phone buzzed. It was a text from Daniel. "Hey, I'm so sorry. I got stuck in traffic. I'm about 20 minutes away. Go ahead and order." I texted back saying it was fine and that I'd wait. But just 2 minutes later, at 11:04 p.m., a young man walked into the diner. He matched Daniel's photos perfectly. Same curly brown hair, same green eyes, same height. He scanned the room, spotted me, and smiled. He walked over to my booth. "Hey, you must be Maya," he said, sliding into the seat across from me. I was confused. "Daniel, I thought you were stuck in traffic?" He laughed a bit nervously. "Oh yeah, I managed to find a shortcut and beat the rush. I wanted to surprise you." It felt a bit fast, but I let it go. We started talking. But as the conversation went on, a knot began to tie in my stomach. He was charming, but he kept asking very strange questions. "Do you live alone? Did you tell anyone where you were going tonight? Is your car parked in the dark spot behind the diner? I tried to laugh it off, but I felt incredibly uncomfortable. His eyes were wide and he didn't seem to blink. He just stared at me, his smile wide and rigid. Then at 11:15 p.m., my phone rang. I looked down at the screen. The caller ID read, Daniel, and it was a FaceTime call. I stared at the phone, then looked up at the man sitting across from me. He was staring at my phone screen, his smile still frozen on his face. Aren't you going to answer that? He whispered. My hand shook as I slid the screen to answer the FaceTime call. The screen connected. A video appeared. It was Daniel, the real Daniel. He was sitting in the driver's side of his car, with the dark highway visible behind him through the window. Hey Maya, Daniel said over the speaker. I'm so sorry, I'm still about 10 minutes away. The GPS says there's a wreck on the highway. Are you already at the diner? I couldn't speak. The blood drained from my face. Maya? Daniel asked, looking concerned on the screen. Is everything okay? I slowly looked up from the screen to the man sitting across from me. His rigid smile had stretched even wider, revealing too many teeth. His eyes were wide and hollow. He leaned forward across the table, his face just inches from mine. You shouldn't have answered, he whispered, his voice deep and distorted. I let out a scream, threw my hot coffee directly at his face, and scrambled out of the booth. I sprinted toward the entrance, pushing past the confused cashier, and ran out into the parking lot. I jumped into my car, locked the doors, and slammed the gas, flying out of the parking lot. In my rear-view mirror, I saw the man walk out of the diner. He didn't run after me. He just stood under the flickering neon sign, waving goodbye, his unnaturally wide smile visible even in the dark. I called the authorities as I drove. When they arrived at the diner, the man was gone. The diner staff said they had never seen him before, and he had slipped out the back exit right after I ran. They checked the security cameras, but the footage from those 10 minutes was corrupted with static. I don't know who or what was sitting across from me that night, but I know that if I had stayed in that booth for just 10 more minutes, I wouldn't be here to tell this story. Meeting a stranger from the internet always comes with a small leap of faith, but sometimes the person behind the screen isn't just looking for love. They're looking for a victim. Or perhaps they aren't even human at all. If these stories made you think twice about your next date, please subscribe to The Dark Hour for more chilling tales. Tell me in the comments, what is the creepiest message you've ever received on a dating app? I'll see you in the dark.